Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. It's Friday, but it's not one of those weeks where we have anything lighthearted. In fact, the whole Miyatti Allah, issue is still very much in focus. Well, you heard on the news all about the handshake across the Niger with, the summit in Enugu, and leaders from across the Niger were there. Well, my guest this morning is Dr. Tunde Abayomi. This is a topic we've looked at extensively this week, Dr. Abayomi, and thank you very much for coming. It's not encouraging at all so far because tell me what you think about one of the key demands that, look, for it to be shown that we are being serious about the emergency on ground, I think the governor of Benue has asked that all Miyatti Allah folks be prosecuted, be charged, and let them have their day, and then we will know that, yes, we're taking this seriously. Otherwise, people seem to have this impression that this is not being taken seriously enough.
Well, there's actually, in criminal law, there's no collective responsibility. And there is no what is called respondeat superior, which is a sort of agency principle responsibility, unless there is aiding and abetting. Now, my thinking is that you cannot just say that a whole group should be charged. But clearly, if we can establish relationship and aiding between individuals,
okay,
you could charge them.
So to that extent, you fall to the call for the declaration of Miyatti Allah as a terrorist group?
Yes, yes. I don't think you could actually prosecute a group as such. But as to whether it could be prosecuted as a terrorist group, again, we have to look at the philosophy and the standing and the modus operandi of that particular group in order to decide whether it can be called a terrorist group. For example, Boko Haram started in a small way as a sort of a religious group promoting a certain religious ideas and ideals. It gravitated and graduated to becoming a violent group terrorizing the nation. So again, it depends on the philosophy.
But with numbers like 77 killed in Benue, buried, mass graves, and the governor saying that, Benue saying that, largely all the things that you have enumerated, he has actually seen, and anybody else who is interested in the matter could see, and he was a bit perhaps melodramatic that I can't be governor of dead people here. Yes. Why are we being abandoned?
I think the governor is correct. Actually, this is actually a shock to the entire nation. Imagine if it happens in my state, Ondo State, and you simply wake up and some kind of a group came in and killed, murdered in cold blood, innocent people, including children. I think the nation is actually facing
even though we are facing accusations and counter-accusations, yes, as you have heard, for their own part, the Folarin herdsmen have said that, look, what has happened, regrettable as it is, was self-defense.
Well, the problem is, how is it self-defense? Were they, for example, murdered? We have had instances of this kind of cold-blooded murder by herdsmen. It's not just in Benue. It's a growing negative phenomenon, negative threat to this country. It's everywhere. And there's a need to do something. I'll give you a simple example of how this thing can easily be provoked. I was in my village just during Christmas, as a matter of fact. And the principal of my school, who is actually a white man, took us, and he's been here for he's 85 now. He's been here since the age of 28. He took us, old students, to show us the planting of trees around the school. While we were watching the planting, the cattle just came. These are plants that were just developing. The cattle came, they were just about to consume those plants. We are still managing the plants through dry season. They had actually destroyed some of the plants. So we have taken, the principal and the school had taken some effort to protect the plants, but they are just coming. Now, assuming that that was coming to a farmer, you can see the problem now.
Because that's his livelihood. The
livelihood of the farmer is there. He's trying to protect it. And you have the cows. So there are two issues here. It is important for the government to understand the serious nature of the conflict and its delicacy too.
And also you might have heard, Dr. Abayomi, that some have said that, are we really sure that the alleged marauding Fulanis are indeed Nigerians? But that's another aspect to the question.
Well, but it won't matter whether they are Nigerians or non-Nigerians. Non-Nigerians are allowed to live in Nigeria as long as they live according to law. So I don't think that's the primary issue. The primary issue is to ensure that things are done in respect of the rights of other people and according to the rule of law. Furthermore, that the government stands firmly to ensure the guarantee of rights of people. You cannot have a situation where a herdsman thinks that he has a right to invade any territory. He's pushing his business. Let us understand that. The rearing of cow is a business. You are pushing, you are managing your business. You cannot run your business to the detriment of another person's right, another person's business.
Indeed.
This is important. It is important to understand.
It's important, and I think it even goes without saying. But why I brought the matter up at all is the whole matter of, again, criticisms of the police, the way it was, the problem is perceived, and so it's a police action affair. But if these are foreigners, if they are not Nigerians, if it were Nigerians, then we can talk among ourselves, impose whatever sanction, and say you can't do that, wag our finger. But if they are not, the fact that Nigerian lives are being lost in this aggression by an external group, if indeed they are external, then wouldn't that be something that the army itself might be better suited to deal with than the police, and would have indicated the seriousness with which the problem is being
that's clearly, that's the situation, because it goes beyond just internal conflict. Where now we have external aggression. But the problem is, how do you really decide that? How do you determine that? That's the problem.
That these are not Nigerian Fulanis.
Yes, that these are not Nigerian. Yes, that these are not Nigerian Fulanis. They are everywhere.
They are. They are.
So are we really under invasion as a nation? If we are under invasion as a nation, then the government of Nigeria should tell us so that we will prepare. It will no longer be a matter of the army or the police. It will be a collective duty by the people of Nigeria to raise protective army. And the danger that we are facing is that if the government does not do something about it, there's no way. People have a right to protect themselves when they are provoked.
Governor Fayose, I saw in the news, he's saying that, look, I am preparing in case of any eventuality. What do you think this portends? He's going to raise vigilante groups, farmers groups, the idea being that if there's an alarm signal, people will not be entirely helpless for whatever that is worth. That's
actually protected by the Constitution. If a man, for example, comes to your house with the intention of killing you, you have a right to defend yourself. Self-defense is a right under law. It's important to understand that. And that is why Unongo is saying with regard to Benue that if the government is not proactive to ensure protection for the people will rise up to protect themselves. The first principle primary of government is to protect the people. And we are now facing a situation where we are facing serious, we are not at war in this country. And I think that the leaders, particularly the leaders of the North, They need, instead of coming around to talk about irrelevant issues, they need to look at the serious situation of the North. We have Boko Haram, we have Al-Majiri, now we have Hasman. The nation is under threat by the problems of the North.
Well, I mentioned Ekiti and Governor Fayose, but your governor, I think, if I'm not mistaken, has gone on record as saying that, I don't know how to put it more delicately, but for now, no action is necessary in terms of maybe the kind of measures Fayose has taken, for example.
Well, for now, the point is that it is to challenge the government of the Federation.
How long, sir? Are we going to be challenging them for, and more people are dying, and they don't look like they want to talk to us in terms of,
you know, this
is what's going on, this is what we've done, you can see that we're thinking about this.
Well, the government needs to think fast and work fast. Niccolo Machiavelli said, when a problem is not dealt with at the early stage, very soon it consumes and it becomes unmanageable. And that is exactly what happens. And you can see this from the problem of Boko Haram. At that early stage, there was a lot of people sponsoring people to go to Sudan to learn the extreme Islamic doctrine and so on and so forth. And these people came back and became something else.
But I wanted to suggest, Dr. Abayomi, that Boko Haram and the one before that, the one that General Buhari himself helped to quell when he was a military officer. What was that one? Matasine.
Yes.
Those one had a very, very dangerous premise, which the religion that you've talked about.
Yes.
And this was stamped out by the authorities here. So we don't need any undue radicalism. Now, that's an entirely different thing, perhaps, from this matter of, as we had one gentleman say here, sorry, there's nothing you'll do. I just need to explain to you guys that are not Fulani and don't understand our thinking, don't understand our mindset. This is how it is.
Yes,
we're not going to change. People have to find a way to accommodate us, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, I just condensed and moderately lengthy explanation into about 2 sentences.
Well, the question is that the nation, the government of the nation will either make up its mind whether it wants to destroy Nigeria or it wants to ensure peace and good government in this country. Because right now, people, if you read the social network, there are people that are essentially saying it is a program of conquest. That this whole idea of herdsmen is a program of conquest all over this country, a continuing historical agenda to conquer Nigeria for a particular ideal. So there's a doctrine, the doctrine of division, and it's raising petrifugal forces. That's the danger that the nation faces. And there's a need for the government to be proactive. Indeed. It's not just sufficient to be coming on television and be saying, talk, talk, talk. There must be action.
The government needs to be proactive, as you said, and the government, of course, led by the president. Now, I don't know why, speaking personally, the whole point being made that you just sort of, sketched that, look, President Buhari is a Fulani.
Yes.
These problems are coming from Fulanis.
Yes.
They are thinking, perhaps wrongly, that had any other group, it doesn't matter, I'm not even going to mention it, any other whatsoever, then the same quote-unquote levity with which this is being viewed. I'm not saying that the government doesn't know it's a very serious matter, but nobody's putting their foot down, it seems, to those of us who are on the outside. In terms of communication, it might not even be the truth, but the perception, why the communication folk of the presidency are not seeing a need to stop all this chatter. Last time I was on, I think a certain Madam Josephine called in and made the very point that I'm making now, that all of this is going on simply because they are sort of affiliations. It didn't help. In fact, it was on the same day that a Fulani gentleman came in and said, I need to explain some things. It's like, there's no way Fulanis are enemy, but you know how strategists say that you got to understand the nature of the enemy. Now, in terms of murdering my wife and children, for that momentary purpose, you have to see such a person as perhaps not a friend.
Yes.
So do we really understand the nature of the problem we have on our hands? Is sometimes what I question myself.
I think the matter is not a problem of the president. I don't think we should stigmatize the president merely because he's a Fulani. The president owes a responsibility to protect the lives of everybody in Nigeria. I don't think we have a Fulani president.
No.
We have a Nigerian president. And I don't think the president has demonstrated that he is a Fulani president. He has demonstrated so far that he's a Nigerian president. However,
that's why so many people held out hope.
Yes, however...
that the most tribalist person they know is General Buhari.
Yes.
So what's going on here?
Yeah, the problem is, I think we must also appreciate that we've got a delicate problem. The Fulani herdsmen are all over Nigeria. Let us also understand that cows is a major food item all over the country that is encouraged.
Indeed.
Its development is all over.
And particularly so to the Fulani.
Yes.
So much so that critics have said that it's almost like they will equate one human cow with lives, if need be.
I mean, so see the significance. When the president was asked to declare his asset, he declared the number of cows he has. That's the source of wealth. It's like cocoa to the people of Ondo State.
Yeah, but people don't kill people for what is it, for stealing my cocoa or, you know.
And that is the point. So there must be some modus operandi in the management and rearing of cows. The government was established. You cannot have a nation where, for example, a problem overwhelms the government and the government does not know what to do or cannot do something about a problem.
Is this beginning to look like that? Is this beginning to look like that?
It's beginning to look like that. If you have a situation where in Ondo State, Fulani cows are, killing women and, harassing men in their farm, you have 73 people killed in Benue, you have in Taraba, it's becoming a national overwhelming problem. And so the government must assure the people, because the problem is that you now have a situation where unless you contain the problem, there will impunity. The Fulani herdsmen would think that they are not subject to the rule of law. And that is the situation we have now.
Exactly.
It continues to grow. And it is growing and unfolding in a magnitude that is threatening and terrifying. And it is even more so for the president because he's a Fulani man. He needs to be more proactive so that he can assure the nation before he has a nation that is broken into pieces by ethnicity.
Why, going back to the communication part, because I have no doubt in my mind that, personally, my own personal view is that all of this is totally unsatisfactory to the president. That people are still bringing up that link. It's an inescapable link that, they are clansmen. It can only be because people don't have the kind of assurance that you have, for example, or that I have, for example, that absolutely not. It's an unfortunate mix of events, but you see, that would sort of work in terms of persuading people. After all, one of the purposes of communication is to persuade that this is not something that is being taken lightly. Now, no such step, to my mind, has yet been taken to demonstrate to the people who have been suffering. So it seems like a one-way traffic, although the Fulani herdsmen would say, on the contrary, it's more of a two-way traffic. You hit me, I hit you. The gentleman even said to us, you hit a Fulani now, it doesn't matter. He'll go away, you think you've won. He'll report back to base. When people come, there won't even be a chicken left in the place. I mean, for goodness sake. It seemed to me that, as you said, nobody's above the law. But this is getting a bit out of hand.
Yeah, but the law is so basically they have their own law. That's basically what he's talking about.
This is our culture, this is our norms, this is how we've always been, this is how we are, and this is what you need to understand. Nigeria, you need to understand this, is what we were being told.
The question is whether the Fulani wish to live in Nigeria under the rule of law of Nigeria, or it wishes to have its own regime and its own law. Because in this country, the law still remains. Provocation must not be provoked. You cannot say that because, for example, somebody harasses you, come round and shoot the person, or knife the person.
You can't take the law into your hands.
You cannot take the law into your hands.
Which is going on right now.
And that is exactly what is going on. And that is why the president faces a delicate situation. Because you are now facing a situation. We're not talking of the North. We are talking of almost the entire Middle Belt. Facing, a situation where you may have a major conflict in the northern part of Nigeria. And a conflict that obviously has some sympathy from the southern part because they feel threatened. This is the truth of the matter. And we must understand the history of Nigeria. That is why I keep saying that Nigeria is uniquely shaped and put together. We have different ethnic groups in different areas permanently put there divinely. In order for this nation to make progress, they must have sit around the table and agree on the terms of our relationship.
Which is,
this
again,
goes back to the issue
of restructuring, right?
People talk of restructuring. Forget about restructuring. Talk about structure.
Okay, before restructure.
No structure. You cannot talk of restructuring when a nation has no structure. The constitution imposed on us was imposed on a military that has no right, no legal right to give us a constitution, no legitimate right to affirm a constitution for us. It gave itself the power to make law and ended up giving us a constitution, which is contrary to the power it gave itself. A constitution comes from the people according to their will. It imposed it on us. So until the people come together to have a structure, a legitimate structure,
okay, that's going to take.
We are not going to go anywhere.
That's going to take a bit of time. I imagine we'll get there. It's going to take a bit of time, but in the meantime, the numbers are not slowing down almost. Yes. Of the killings that are going on. Among the proposals, we've heard that, look, there shall be ranching systems all over the place to, but because what this would seek to do is to interfere, maybe adapt age-long practices of nomadic herdsmen, for example. I wonder how successful you think that idea is going to be.
My view is that each state should be allowed to determine how to handle a major national problem. I do not believe it will be correct for the federal government to propose one single medicine for a diverse problem. There are some states in this country where herdsmen don't pose a problem.
That's right.
In fact, where there's a lot of cooperation. There are some states where they pose tremendous problem. There are some states where, they pose moderate problem.
Yes.
So I believe that each state, and this again comes to the issue that I'm talking about, there is too much centralization of power in Nigeria. We are not running a federal government in this country. We're not, in fact, running. It is just a question of a name. You cannot talk a federal system where the states don't even have control over their security at all.
Let me get the first caller in. Well, Josephine, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, good morning. God bless you today. I'm your guest.
Thank you very much for calling in, ma'am.
Uncle Abayomi.
Dr. Abayomi.
Yes.
Dr. Abayomi, God bless you for this wonderful program.
Yes.
I called before in respect of this herdsmen issue. And you are referring it is in a layman's eye, when a situation is going on and the authority that is that they have given that authority to react is not reacting, people will think otherwise. I'm not saying that because the president is a Fulani man that is as armed, but this is what people are thinking, that why are you not taking proactive steps to calm down all these things? They keep on telling us that we have these Fulani herdsmen, they are foreigners. That is what is annoying me most. If we have our military that is supposed to cop all these foreigners to against your citizens that you have taken out, that you are supposed to protect, you are not doing that. People will think otherwise, that there is something fishing. And yesterday, something the aide did, Adesina said something that is very wrong. He said during the last administration, more than 700 people died, meaning that they should not blame the president. Why did people vote him? Because people don't want it to repeat. That is why they voted. He said he's coming to change the situation, he's going to change everything. But things have gone worse. People, can you imagine the burial yesterday? 73 people under his watch. The man that said we should vote him so that they will save life and property. Under your watch, people are dying like chicken. You now value car more than human life. Please, I just pray.
Thank you very much for calling in, Josephine. Well, she's made the point again, yes. And I don't think she's a solitary voice. Mm-hmm.
That's the perception.
That is the perception. And
yes.
Professionals, and going back, she talked about Mr. Adesina, yes. Presidential spokesperson, yes. Spokesman. What do you think of the quality of the communication coming out of the presidency about this? Or perhaps there isn't very much.
It was a wrong statement, very inflammatory in my view. You just lost 76 people.
3. Oh, maybe depending on what account
Benue just lost over 70 people.
Yes.
And they are in pain, including children, young people, women, and so on and so forth, murdered in cold blood. And then you turn around and you say that, oh, under the last regime, people were murdered. It's not just under... What's the relevance of that, really? The point is that we don't want our citizens to be murdered. And so what the people of Nigeria want to hear is government's effort to ensure that this will not continue. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. what we expect to hear is that the government is determined to ensure that this will not continue.
Indeed.
Because if we don't do that, the perception is often stronger than reality.
Sometimes.
This is it. Exactly. Perception is often stronger than reality. And if people perceive that, oh, because the president is Fulani, therefore the Fulani people can become anything.
Although we know, I want to believe that although you said that.
Although in reality it isn't so.
But people, I think people even know deep down in there that the president does not condone any of this. But the point is, people are going with the perception.
During his end of year broadcast to the country, he spoke strongly about it. He mentioned Hasman as part of the problem he's concerned with, he has to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I believe internally, mm-hmm. no president, in my view, not to talk of Buhari, considering the chance election he got to become the president of Nigeria. I don't believe that a president in his position we want to see a situation that is embarrassing. Indeed. Like this. I'm very convinced about it. But he needs to be proactive. He needs to speak. He needs to act. He needs to show that truly he's more concerned about the lives of the people, regardless of where the threat comes from.
Mr. George, thank you very much for holding on all that while. Please go ahead now.
Thank you, Uncle Yori. Uncle Yori, this issue of herdsmen is lingering. The president is allowing it to linger too much. So first of all, I want to say that the call by the middle belt leaders that Miyatti Allah, whatever it is called, that organization should
Miyatti Allah.
That organization should be declared a terrorist organization is not proper. There is no way you can declare it a terrorist organization. In the first place, you have no security confirmation that they are the ones that have been organizing all the killings. What I expected the government to do is to hunt down the people that are killing.
Okay.
It is possible that they do not even belong to that organization that some people are saying they should proscribe now. Hunt down those people and bring them to book before you start talking of any other thing. I was very sad 2 days ago when I heard what the IG of police said, that they are not yet after the herdsmen. If you were posted to a place to go and ensure orderliness, What else are you supposed to go and do? Is it not to arrest those that are causing the disorder?
Indeed.
So, sorry, Uncle Yori, it appears the president is surrounded by a number of bad advisors, including those who speak for him.
All right.
If he has good advisors, by now he should know that this issue is being allowed to linger too much and is bound to give people opportunity to create all sorts of wrong impressions, even though the impressions, the lady that spoke first, you saw how, what she was saying, that you give room for rumors to gain ground, and some people will take it as true.
Okay, Mr. George, I got to go on a break now, but thank you very, very much for your contribution. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The other question, because we're looking with Dr. Abayomi and indeed your very good selves at home, we're looking at why this whole matter is lingering. There have been a few ideas proffered. But Dr. Abayomi, Nigeria as a country, I imagine, has not inconsiderable resources, investigation and all of that, security agencies. Why has this, considerable force not been deployed towards doing the right thing, which is apprehended those that are accused of the murder? I just think that if normally, for example, just because this is so important and people have taken it very, very seriously, if a normal case of this kind of a thing would take maybe 10 people, you put 1,000 people on it. Mm-hmm. Say, I want to nip this in the bud and I want people to just see that this is absolutely unacceptable. It could be done. Now, there was hyperbole in what I just said, of course, but I'm just trying to underline that there are so many ways from our own not knowing very much about it outside position that you can demonstrate to the people that this is absolutely impossible. Is it that this is the president where everybody has a difference and this happens to be the way the president is? We'll have to wait on him. He means well. In his own time, he will bring to bear what is going to be a lasting solution, but we have to be patient.
Well, the point is that it is actually not the president that will go to Benue in order to handle the issue of security. But we hold him responsible because we elected him in order to secure us and to govern us properly.
Could I beg your pardon for interrupting you. I'm going to come back to it, but Ibrahim in Minna has been waiting for a while. Yes. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you, sir. Doctor. Thank you very much for calling in.
Please, my contribution to the discussion going on there has to do with this notion that is going around that because the president is a Fulani man, therefore he is condoning what is going on. I think unless we have forgotten, the Fulani people too are also victims of these killings that have been going on in places like Adamawa and Tarawa. And as such, the Fulani, if they like, they can also raise a counter-argument that even though the president is a fellow Fulani man, that means he is also condoning the attack, which means that the matter does not mean we should call a spade and call criminality what it is or terrorists what they are. We should hunt these people down and bring them to book. That is what we should be focusing on. Mm-hmm. And then yet again, what nobody seems to be talking about is that this Benue killing that occurred, it actually escalated as a result of the government policy which the governor of Benue State imposed that has to do with banning of the anti-grazing law. It means when a government is coming up with a policy, it should carry everybody along, be they the majority or the minority. Then if that fails to happen, then the government should also anticipate that, should be able to anticipate that in the case that where there is a resistance, the government should be able to anticipate. We keep on talking about the government being proactive, but nobody is talking about why the government was not proactive. I believe there is something referred to as security vote. These governors, they enjoy what is known as security vote, running into billions of naira. Then they should be able, just like the case of Lagos State. Lagos State, instead of arming and funding what is known as civilian joint task forces, they've been spending a lot of money to improve its own security agencies that are within its state. Because at the end of the day, we know that these civilian JTS, they end up becoming rocks at the end of the day. And as you can see, that is what is happening again in Benue State now. The recent people that were caught with armed with AK-47 by the army at the border between Benue State and Taraba State. Nobody is talking about this thing.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Ibrahim. You know, I had one of, he said that people are not talking about why government is not being proactive, but I didn't want to lengthen his contribution by asking him what he thought, what the ideas he had as to why government was not being proactive. But I think suffice it to say that we've said here it's a delicate issue.
It is a delicate issue.
It is a delicate issue. But then delicate, people are dying. I think Professor Shoyinka, I saw one headline yesterday about how come we can't distinguish between the life of a cow that can be replaced and that of a human being that cannot be displaced. And we're saying here that we've got to understand the delicacy of the matter. This is the way people are. Ibrahim brought up anti-grazing, the anti-grazing law as being perceived as targeted at them particularly, whereas, as you know, it's all about restructuring the whole thing so that everybody can be happy. They can be happy, their cattle can be happy, and, you know, resident communities can be happy.
But the point is that what the last speaker is talking about, it's dangerous for a nation. You cannot say, because you disagree with government policy, you now go on a murder spree.
Exactly.
You cannot say that. There are ways by which, there are lawful ways by which you protest policies of government that you disagree with, that is allowable under law. One of those ways is not to wage war against a people.
Yeah, but how come they are not telling themselves this or being told this? Because what you said,
and that is the point.
Yeah.
And
by those who are influential to them.
Yeah, that's why we are talking of government being proactive. If we now have a philosophy or a policy that, look, if you kill my cow, I will kill you, instead of filing a complaint with the police or the security apparatus of a nation, that my reaction is to kill you, we've got a problem. The government has a duty to establish firmly that, no, that will not be allowed. And the only way you can do that is to ensure that remedy is provided. For example, that a killer is arrested, is charged to court, and is prosecuted. Because you establish first principle of responsibility under law in a nation. And what we have, and that is the problem. But again, having said that, you have also asked a question, why is it that the security, with all the power we have, is not able to do this?
We're not deploying it.
Yeah, because we don't have an appropriate and adequate security structure in this country. If we see the security apparatus, should this nation start to burden its military with every internal conflict? Just see the number of military men that are sent to different zones to deal with security, that are deployed to deal with security in this country. The military itself is getting overwhelmed by the security problem of this country. That in itself raises an issue that there is a need for this nation to take a strong look at its own situation. I have said it in this program. America once had confederal governments, and it came to a conclusion that confederal government is providing an imperfect governance, a weak and ineffective governance in America. It came together in Philadelphia and said, look, we must go to the original problem. And as a result of that, 55 great men came up with a new constitution for America, a constitution of the people. In this country, the constitution, we need to come together and agree on how we want the terms and conditions of our relationship in order to be able to manage the issues. How can a nation be governed by a constitution that told a lie about itself, and we are satisfied with it?
Mazi Okoroafo, thank you very much for holding on, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
For Tunde Abayomi.
Yes.
Honestly speaking, security is paramount importance in any environment for we to move forward in any country.
Yes.
So the way we pass statements must be monitored, not to discourage people. Because when you make a statement, like what I saw on the screen about the way they said, it's not good for we to wake up one morning, because before we say anything, let us do what we call proper investigation and have facts. Because there's a lot of like what Dr. Abayomi was just saying, the last statement he was just making before I came on board now. It's very, very important because countries around watch us, whatever we do. Now, when you watch Somalia, what is happening in Kenya and Somalia, you see, they don't make all those. Well, the only name they have there in that country today is up to date. But there are other terrorist things that move around that, but they still keep quiet. But what am I saying? I'm saying is because anything we do in this country, in terms of utterances, we have to be very careful. And before you follow the Constitution before we make statements. Thank you very much. I pray for success.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. He was a bit cryptic, but there you go. We'll take it for whatever. You just make what you will of it. That is how he chose to make the presentation. Again, perhaps, I don't know, if alluding to the fact that there's inflammatory stuff out compounding the problem. And in that sense, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Vice President, has also cautioned in the past, very recent past, that, look, we need to be careful about pouring a metaphoric petrol on an already raging fire, and also not politicizing all of this that is going on. But there are those who are saying the thing has already entered the political arena.
I mean, if you have a situation where people are murdered in cold blood, defenseless people, and the government is not able to protect even children from being murdered in cold blood, I mean, this is a serious issue, very serious. And the people have a right to complain against government, because the first primary responsibility of government is to protect the people. The government must demonstrate firmly that is working hard to ensure protection for the people. So how do you do it? Well, see what time...
So even if they are working hard, you're saying it's a bit like winking in the dark. The government need, you know...
The people must be assured.
Because people don't know, or they are not satisfied with the level of demonstration of this objective that you're talking about.
Of course, we saw the confrontation that the government gave to Boko Haram. So we praise government for doing... Under Jonathan, Boko Haram was virtually was going all over the place, or nearly took over the entire northeastern part of the country. Government came and did something. We praise government, and we are still praising government. In the same manner, with the same energy, with the same commitment, with the same assurance, the government should demonstrate that it's going to deal with this problem. You can't have a situation where people are just murdered in cold blood.
Mr. Okpara, good morning, and thank you for holding on. Mr. Okpara in VI.
Yeah, Dr. Yori, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And Happy New Year.
Indeed, same to you. Compliments of the season.
Yeah, and good morning to the guests today.
Dr. Abayomi.
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Abayomi, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Dr. Yori, you will see that this thing did not start today. There's no value of life in Nigeria. Even this year alone, how many times have these herdsmen attacked? And the government is keeping quiet. Last year alone, how many times did they attack this Benue?
Well, to be fair, Mr. Okpara, not exactly quiet. Mr. Vice President has been quite what is it now? Vocal. Let me just say vocal.
And the president has directed the Inspector General of Police to move to Benue.
So, Mr. Kwara, would you, that can't qualify as keeping quiet.
All right. Now, when it happened in Anambra State, nobody, there was no comment. This thing, the life of Nigerians are in jeopardy. This is happening also. Look at what is happening between Cameroon and Bakassi people. Our people are being killed, and nobody is saying anything.
Okay.
I mean, there's no value of life. Our government should wake up.
All right.
It's enough.
Okay.
It is the one Nigeria we are practicing. People that, these people, they're supposed to be termed as terrorists. There's no way about that. People who are not carrying arms, they're termed to be terrorists in the East. Why not these people?
All right.
The federal government should declare a state of emergency.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Mr. Okwara. Well, that whole specter of a herdsman, instead of his staff, you know, in that classical Folarin pose, it's an AK-47 this time.
Yes.
And what are we talking about is what a lot of ordinary, regular folk cannot simply understand why those pictures exist.
Well, again, this is the point. Again, it shows the problem of lawlessness in the country and the problem of security. Like I said, the structure of security in this nation has a problem. Even, for example, let me give you a simple example. How do you command security from Abuja, command the management of security in my village from Abuja?
Okay, too central. That's your point about...
There's a problem.
All our matters
That's
are
why
too central.
the people need to come together to agree on how they want this nation to be managed. There are some principal, fundamental issues that a nation must agree upon. Security of the people, the nation, the structure of government, the relationship with the world, the military, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
But we don't have that.
Okay, Mr. Adesina in Ojo, Lagos State, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to your guests in the studio.
Thank you. Good morning.
Uncle Yori, I must tell you that my condolences go to the people of Benue State for the murder of those defenseless citizens in that state. But Uncle Yori, I will start with this proverb that Yoruba said, when the governor signed the bill of anti-grazing law in the state, there was a reaction. And I was watching from different media when some people came on air that it will not work. Like I watched one of the association of the herdsmen and said, we have not exhaust all avenues to sort out this problem properly before it starts. And they say it will not work. For, you see, Uncle Yori, except we are defeating ourselves in this country. You see, I had expected that. I knew when any Nigerians that knows the security of this country, there's going to be reaction. And now, the way the reaction came is very bad. It's starting to the entire world globally. Now, I want to say something. The governor, and they put a security check in place, proper security check in place, to checkmate any occurrence that may aftermath of what he has done. Because there was a lot of condemnation. Some were condemning that anti-grazing law. And now they are now using this issue of killing these distractions as the reason why it cannot work. But Uncle Yori, what I will say is that the president is trying his best. God bless Nigeria. But we need to do more in our security. Yes, there's no doubt about that. With the military apparatus we have and the land is vast, we need to improve on our security more. Intelligence gathering, we need to get cooperation of the civil military cooperation so they can give us information, suspected movement all around us, because you cannot see police every nook and crannies of our community. It's not possible. So likewise the military. The military.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Adesina. You see, all this advice and all these comments, reactions that are coming from our viewers, I can't imagine that any one of them is strange or alien to government ears. So government already knows these concerns. here we are, we're moving into election, I think November, they've just released the timetable. I wonder how much this will play when the time for campaign comes in terms of, how much you lived up to your billing that we bought. You sold it to us, we bought it, and here we are now.
Well, again, we're going to go back to the issue of security in this country. The management of security is really very problematic in Nigeria because the government must face one fact now. There is a growing concern as to its capacity to manage security in Nigeria. All over this nation today, there's anxiety. Forget about Hasma, they are there. They just killed over 70 people. We are dealing with Boko Haram. We have kidnapping all over the place, and so on and so forth. And just in Port Harcourt, a group just went in and killed people that were worshiping, and so on and so forth. So it's clear that there is a problem. There's a need to have a national conference on the management of security. This whole problem is, of course, complicated by another underlying sea of problem, and that is corruption in the whole system.
Yeah, actually, this has pushed corruption off the front burner only for a while, but it is still very, very much on the stove. It's still on the stove.
The point is that a whole lot, if you look at our police, for example, you ask yourself, rarely are the police, Nigerian police, actually committed to management of security or just committed to management of security as long as money comes to their pocket.
Okay.
So there are issues.
Mr. Dauda in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, you see, I've been following your program. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I've been following your program. It's quite interesting, and we need to fix Nigeria. Now, in fixing these problems, both the media and every citizen of this nation need to be very sincere. Now, for the past week, I've been watching your own and many others, and we are talking about who are the people behind this. Let me start this way. The governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, the same group attacked Kaduna people. Nasir El-Rufai followed them, located them, and had a chat with them. According to Nasir El-Rufai, that he gave them money and pleaded with them to stop killing people. Now, if anybody, the Inspector General of Police is looking for who these people are, they should ask Nasir El-Rufai. That's number one. He knows them, and he confessed of giving them money. Now, the people they killed, he did not even compensate them. He is a Fulani man. Now, if the president is serious about this, look at children, 73% dying, giving priority over animals to human beings. Now, if you look at this thing, the grazing reserve is a conspiracy. And this is what I mean. In 1804, when Usman Danfodio came to Sokoto, then he was given a grazing reserve, and he overthrew the government of that town. And that jihadist activity started. The whole northern Nigeria, even in Abuja here, in Buhari, they gave a title of a Fulani man over the citizens. And what happened? You are aware of what happened in Buhari recently. There was an uprising, there was burning of shops, there was this and that. It is a conspiracy, and this is what I'm saying. If the Fulani huntsmen can go to Enugu, can go to Abia, can go to this and go to that, it is not new. It started long time ago. Now, if Nigerians want to stop this, we can stop it. I tell you the truth, sir. You can write it down. History, time will tell. If they get these people the greater reserve, rearing of cow is animal husbandry. You know it, and I know it. Now we give them a land by government and take government taxpayer money to sponsor them in Abia, sponsor them in Abeokuta, sponsor them in Lagos, sponsor them in Abuja. What will happen? They will become leaders there. Next thing that will happen is that they will bring in their people, and then they will demand for leadership. And after that, they will take over. And after that, the born-to-rule mentality will begin to come up.
All right, then. I got to interrupt you, Mr. Dauda, but thank you very much. It's because we've run out of time, and I wanted Dr. Abayomi to round up. You see, this is our last caller, but actually, in terms of quality, it's no different from that of our first caller, Josephine. The two of them align very, very clearly. This, I don't know that I'm a conspiracy theorist, but in the absence of any facts, then people will evolve their own conspiracy. And that, I think, is what the government probably, it understands it, but it needs to actively demonstrate that it understands this, unless it is interested in turning all of us into conspiracy theorists.
Well, my point is this, and I want to repeat this, because our time is running out.
We've got about 30 seconds more.
Yes, I'm talking about my generation.
Oh, okay, okay.
Our time is running out. But the point I want to say is that Nigeria can be a great nation, and it has a potential to be one of the leading nations. But why has it not achieved it? It's because of failure of leadership. Leadership that cannot take strong decisions, firm decisions.
In a timely manner.
We've run
out of time.
One of the most important decisions is to decide on the terms of relationship among the peoples of Nigeria. And I hope that at a point we'll reach that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tunde.
Thank you.
Dr. Tunde Abayomi, constitutional lawyer and indeed professional in politics. Really appreciate your perspective on this whole matter. So that's our program for the day and indeed the week. We'll see you on Monday, God willing, with a fresh edition from 9:30 in the morning. I'm Yori Folarin. Have a great weekend.